I have come here to chew bubblegum and
rank.
And I'm all out of bubblegum.
What is up? Welcome into Adjust the Ranks. We are all out of bubblegum here because it is finally fantasy football season. We are getting ready for all of our drafts all throughout August. So what's going on today, just so you know, is we're mock drafting as usual. We got 30 mocks in 30 days here at the Double FU, the FU times 2, the fantasy football universe. Today, we are looking at Yahoo. We're going to join a Yahoo mock to kind of get you all prepared, look at the format, talk about the scoring, and then, of course, go through a mock and tell you where the value is according to ADP. Whether you're mocking on or, have your actual drafts on Sleeper, which is where all of my drafts are currently, whether on Yahoo, CBS, ESPN, or what have you. All of these ADPs are slightly different. So it's important to kind of look at them. We'll do that here on Adjust the Ranks throughout the course of the next week or two. Make sure we get into at least one ESPN, one CBS, etc., to get you all settled and sorted for your upcoming draft. So we're doing Yahoo. A couple of things about the Yahoo platform. Number one, it is half PPR as standard. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Half PPR on Yahoo also includes a 4-point passing per points per passing touchdown. So that means, of course, that rushing quarterbacks are going to give you a little bit of bump in that format. So certainly, as always, regardless of where you're drafting, always check your league settings to make sure that those settings are in line with your expectations, so you draft accordingly. But at the same time, that's what we're going to do. And we're going to use the standard setup for a Yahoo mock. Before we get into that, there's a few bits of news that are kind of breaking here today. First of all, this one's an easy one. Elic Ayomanor, who is the Titans, was it third round pick, I believe, wide receiver, their kind of first wide receiver pick of this draft. They did grab a couple of guys, including UDFA, Xavier Restrepo. They had Shimura Dike as well. But Elic Ayomanor was balling out in camp this early morning to afternoon. He's looking great. The hype is there. He may be worth a last round flyer in PPR leagues. We just do not know who Cam Ward's guy is going to be. Of course, Calvin Ridley is probably a lock there to be the number one target, but the number two target is interesting. It could be Chig. It could be Ayomanor. It could be any of these other guys. Tyler Lockett is over in Tennessee now, if you haven't been following offseason news. So there's a lot of wide openness in that receiving core. So that's something interesting there for you. Let's kind of just take a look here at, let's see. Yeah, there we go. All right, so we're going to cancel this out. You see there's a minute 44 here left until we kick things off. Once again, we're half PPR, and you can just take a look at the ADP here. Now, ADP is what we're really going to be focusing on today because it's a little bit different. We got to add it to the stage first, of course, so that you can see what we're talking about. ADP is a little bit different here than it is on every other platform. But it's really hard to argue with the top three. That's Jamar Chase, Bijan Robinson, and Saquon Barkley in half PPR. Order them however you like. That's fine. As you can see, we are picking from the 10 slot. So we're going to be looking at the back half of guys. That includes Nakua, Neighbors, Derrick Henry, who's a value. You can see CMC on Yahoo is up at the 8. His ADP is 9.8 at the 10. I think that's a really good value for him in half PPR. If he falls to the 10, I am likely to take him or Henry here, depending how they go. And I believe once this draft starts, we will have a full mock. We can only hope. Ashton Genty also interesting there on the turn. So we'll see how it shakes out once the draft begins. And you can see the standard draft board here, although it is a little difficult for me to actually figure it out because I don't think I've been on Yahoo in a couple of years. Loved Yahoo. They were the first kind of mobile app to really put it together. So really enjoy drafting on Yahoo and taking my leagues over there for years. If you were over there on Yahoo, great. Enjoy that platform. But we are about to kick things off. We can figure out what the heck we're doing here. Which is always a technology issue. No, I don't like that one. No. There we go. All right. So we're kicking off the draft. Let's take a look at what's happening here. So it's Jamar Chase, Bijan Robinson, and Saquon Barkley off the jump. I think, as we just discussed, you can expect that to happen. CD Lamb really needs to be that fourth guy. I think Lamb and Gibbs, that's your top five, with Justin Jefferson very likely to be that six. He takes a slight tick down just because JJ McCarthy is, in town. At the same time, he's a little bit dinged up. We don't know exactly what it's going to look like. So, the 106, it's still good value for him. He's exceptional, but I think he is the clear-cut sixth guy. So with Derrick Henry and Christian McCaffrey both off the board, that kind of stings a little bit. I do like Nico Collins here, but I'm going to go ahead and do it and take Devon Achane at the 110. It's really hard for me to ignore Miami Dolphins this season. They're hemorrhaging injuries to the cornerback position. So their defense was already terrible. It's getting worse. And so I think Devon Achane, Jalen Waddle, who we may see, who I think is a value, and I may take a little bit later as well, is interesting. And Tyreek Hill, if you believe that Hill hasn't lost it, then he is a guy that you want to look at as well. But Ashton Genty here for me is a no-brainer. In half PPR, I'm more than happy to take two backs at the top. And if I could figure out how to get this view, let's try and zoom out a little bit. Maybe that'll work. Yeah, I think that did it. Okay, great. So if I can get two backs at the top in half PPR, I'm very happy to do that. Christian McCaffrey would have been ideal for me. But yeah, I don't want Josh Jacobs. I don't want Jonathan Taylor. I want upside. With safe floor. I think Devon Achane and Ashton Genty give you that in half PPR. Good combination with pass catching and, of course, the running game and opportunities that those guys are going to get for you. Now, Jonathan Taylor is interesting as well. Bucky Irving, you see, go off at the 2-7. But I will take the backs instead of, after those top three wide receivers, Amon-Ra, Nico, Puka, Malik, even Brian Thomas. I will take the backs over those guys. You see how the second round shaped up. Brock Bowers at the 2-6. He really is a value. I know it's half PPR, but in an improved offensive line, improved offensive situation, Geno Smith, right? So the Raiders are improved all around. I think that only bodes well for Brock Bowers and everything he's going to be able to do this season. So the 2-6, I think, is a steal there, really a value. You see Bucky, AJ Brown, Chase Brown, Drake London at the 2-10. I've seen him go in the early second round. So Drake London there in half PPR is a massive value as well. Ladd, and then Kyron Williams to, cap off the second. We got Lamar and Josh Allen, who went in the third. Jaden Daniels is still hanging out. T. Higgins, Trey McBride went. So George Kittle is the only guy left who I will consider if he falls to me at the 310. Devontae, Tyreek, James Cook, JSN, and Don is on the clock. Let's take a look at who's available. So Jaden Daniels and Kittle are those two guys I just mentioned. There goes Kittle, which is painful because that's the guy I really wanted. But if I'm looking at the board, it's really just Mike Evans or Kenneth Walker for me, or Jaden Daniels. I think I usually go for either an early quarterback or early tight end here. So I'm going to go Kenneth Walker, and we're going to see how this draft shakes out for me. We have three running backs. Very happy with this in PPR. And now I need to go ahead and smash other positions. We will see. But in terms of wide receiver, I don't love the value here. Mike Evans, I just think is a year older than I want him to be. There he goes. Terry McLaurin, of course, is holding out. And then we did just see Jaden Daniels go. So really for me, my only option, if I'm looking at the board here in the fourth round, I don't want to go too deep here into my Jalen Waddle bag. If he comes back, great. I'm going to go ahead and do it. And I'm not as comfortable as I was a couple of minutes ago with the Amari and Hampton pick, but Rashawn Slater, star left tackle for the Los Angeles Chargers, about 20 minutes ago, went down hard. He was writhing on the ground in pain, as much as a guy who is the size of Rashawn Slater can writhe on the ground in pain, holding his left knee. It does not look good. They brought out the cart. There is concern for Rashawn Slater. Because of that, I am concerned slightly now for this offense in Los Angeles. I'll give them a tick down. And so Omarion Hampton, I was smashing him here in the fourth. Like I said, just yesterday. Now I am slightly concerned at the same time at the 403. I think you're still looking at his floor. Najee Harris hurt, of course, will not practice for the foreseeable future. Deepak Chona, said it's good news that he's running around with a weighted vest, but he's not really doing drills. And then when you're talking about, a concern, he's not really, allowed to sneeze heavily right now. So when you're talking about, this fireworks accident that occurred and whatever the injury really is to his eye, the quote unquote superficial eye injury that Najee sustained, we don't know much about it, but what we do know is he's not practicing, and at least some Twitter doctors do not expect him to practice for quite some time. So Marion Hampton getting all the work, all the reps. Do not be so concerned about the angle that he took in his, first game carry in the preseason game. He's going to be just fine. Let's hope Rashawn Slater is just fine. That is the real concern here. So let's take a look at ADP. After I took 4 running backs to start in a robust running back build, this is not my style here, but sometimes you just have to take the value that falls to you. I'm on the clock in a couple picks, and Jalen Waddle, I hope, gets back to me. If he does, we will talk about him there, but there are other really good wide receivers in this range. Outside of Waddle, I like Cortland Sutton. I really like who just went off the board, I think. Calvin Ridley. No, Ridley's still there, but Waddle is there. So I'm going to smash Jalen Waddle. Like I said, I really just think these Dolphins are in for a phenomenal season. Of course, Tua has to stay healthy. Of course, Waddle and Achane, who both had injury, Tyreek Hill as well. And pretty much everybody in the Dolphins was injured last year, at least for some point in time. And look, it's always a concern, but we're not drafting scared in terms of the guys that you're taking being injured. What we're doing is we're projecting that upside. And Jalen Waddle, for me, is a guy who can just absolutely go nuclear. We saw it his rookie year. He can do it again. You see his projections right here, 970. I think that's a little low. 6 touchdowns. I think that's a little low. And 74 receptions. This is a guy who belongs in the 90 reception tier. We'll see if he gets there. We'll see if Tyreek is fully healthy. Who knows? And I do love Calvin Ridley, but in the 6th, I'm going to go ahead and draft another crazy athletic high upside guy in Jameson Williams. Instead of what I perceive to be the safe floor of Calvin Ridley, I'm going to take the crazy ceiling of JMO. Look, Jameson Williams is getting all of the hype in camp. It's duly deserved just based on who we know him to be from previous seasons. And the progression that he's taken now that he's fully bought in and fully committed, and the Lions no longer have an issue with him, and he's no longer got an issue with the law and everything that was holding him back earlier in his career. So JMO for me is a guy who I'm absolutely smashing in the 5th round, regardless of format. Half PPR, even better, right? Because we want touchdowns, we want yardage. And JMO is a guy who is going to live on extreme efficiency. We're being told they're going to feature him a little bit more. If he gets the high volume targets, excellent. He's just going to pop even more. So I'm really happy with the way that this is shaken out. So let's go through it one more time before it comes back up again. So I end up with Devon Achane, Ashton Genty, Kenneth Walker, Omarion Hampton, Jalen Waddle, and Jameson Williams. So I am banking now on later quarterback and later tight end as we go here through the middle half of the draft. You see a few names here. For example, Sam Laporta. He's fine, but of course, I'm making my bet on JMO, so I'm really fading Laporta at his cost. I just think JMO eats into that, especially in the absence of Ben Johnson. So Sam Laporta is out for me. Mark Andrews at the 605. He was going a lot later even a couple of weeks ago on different formats. So that's a really interesting pick there because I'm not sure I love him there, especially over a guy like Travion Henderson or guys who we just talked about, Calvin Ridley or even Chris Olave, who is a great receiver, even though he's still in a terrible situation. So Mark Andrews there is a little heavy for me. And TJ Hawkinson, no thanks. You can also look at guys like Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes. These are guys who we expect to throw a ton of touchdowns, but touchdowns, regardless of position, are not a sticky stat year on year. It's why Patrick Mahomes' owners suffered last year and the year before, right? That Kansas City defense and Steve Spagnuolo are really limiting Patrick Mahomes and his upside, in addition to all of the injuries that he has endured to his weapons. Now we got Rashee Rice, who's likely to be suspended. We've got, Hollywood Brown already out with injury. Travis Kelce, certainly no spring chicken himself. So Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield, the highest touchdown rate of his career. These are guys who in this range, I don't really want to touch them. I'd much rather take an upside guy like a Waddle, like a Williams, like an Olave, like even a Rashee Rice. He's a little early here with his ADP because of what's likely to happen. So I'm not going to take him there. But there's a lot more upside other than these quarterbacks, and quarterback and tight end are super deep this season. So here's an upside guy, two of them sitting on the board, Travis Hunter and Tet McMillan. Now I have about 6 picks until mine. I would expect them both to go, but I would love a third wide receiver here. So those two guys would be fantastic. Given my choice of the two, I'm going to go Tet for this season. I think Travis Hunter is absolutely insane. All the upside in the world. We just don't know how often he's going to be on the field. It may even be difficult to predict the games where he's heavily utilized versus the games where he isn't. So we know who Liam Cohen is. He prefers to kind of ride that running back by committee situation. He showed us in Tampa what happened with that last year. It seems like, based on camp reports, he's got that set up with Travis Etienne in that Rashad White heavy role, with Tank Bigsby in that Bucky Irving light role. So I think Tet is just going to underwhelm slightly, even though he's a phenomenal freak talent, a la J-Mo and Jalen Waddle, who I've already drafted. I prefer the safety now, especially because how I've drafted my team of Tet McMillan, if he comes back to me. If he doesn't, Jordan Addison, because the suspension, is off the board for me, and Judy is not ideal. So, all right. It is my turn next. Let's see if Hunter comes back to me. If not, we're going to scramble here. He does come back to me. So Judy, again, I feel like is one of those safe guys. We saw him explode, but the quarterback situation is out of control over there in Cleveland. They just signed Snoop Huntley to make 6 quarterbacks there in Cleveland. So no, thank you. Give me Travis Hunter in what is the back end of the 7th round. I will gladly take that. And then we're just going to kind of look at what the quarterback situation is here. If you can see it, Brock Purdy, yes, I do like it, but Drake May, Caleb Williams, despite his struggles, even Bo Nix, if he falls, Dak Prescott, these are the guys I would prefer to focus on. JJ McCarthy, if we go down the board, Trevor Lawrence, I mean, guys who run and can chuck it. Those are the guys who I want in 4-point per passing touchdown leagues. If we look at the tight ends, nothing that I'm seeing of note here. So I think we're just going to keep smashing. I did mention Jerry Jeudy was not ideal at that price. He might be ideal here, although there's another guy a few further picks down the board. I will go Jeudy because we have 5 seconds left, but Stephon Diggs is really interesting there in the 8th round as well. Some people may love Ricky Pearsall. I'm not completely sold just because Juwan Jennings, CMC, George Kittle, the return of Ayuk potentially could really just kind of see him fall off throughout the season. So I'm a little scared off these San Francisco wide receivers at cost. So give me Jerry Jeudy. So let's take a look now at what we're looking at. Actually, I don't want to do that. I want to go back here and let's see what we have for you. So at the 110, it was Achane for me. Genty at the 203, followed by Walker and Hampton. Then went Waddle, Williams, Hunter, and Jeudy. So 4 running backs, followed by 4 wide receivers. The board did not fall where we could get someone like George Kittle, who was sniped from me. I would have taken him at the 310. He went 309. And then, when we're looking at the rest of the run out here, I really do like how things felt. You see the quarterback run in the 8th round here. Again, I'm just asking you at this point, if you do not have one of the top 4 guys, that is Allen, Lamar, Jaden Daniels, and Jalen Hurts, just push quarterback as far as you can and get one of these last guys. Joe Burrow, I think, is really the number 5. He's the only other safe option. And where he's going is interesting because that defense is so terrible. So Joe Burrow, I do not mind at cost, but I really think in 4-point, you want to make sure you have guys who run and who run a lot. Drake May is the name that you really should be looking for. Let's have a look here. He is right there at cost, and we are in the back end of the 9th round. So I'll probably pull the trigger on May here just to secure him. The other guy who's way down the list is Anthony Richardson. Look, you worry about re-injury. You worry about the fact that he could get pulled at any given moment. I think you still need to make the bet. Anytime Anthony Richardson's on the field, and by all accounts, his passing has improved. We'll see if that's actually true. But anytime he's on the field, he's giving you quarterback 1 production with his rushing alone. So I'm very happy with that kind of as a last round pick. So I'll take Drake May here in the 9th. And then I'll have a peek at tight ends. If Evan Ingram is around, great. No, he's long gone. I don't love anyone. I don't really want to stack with Hunter Henry, even in half PPR. There's a lot of malice now all of a sudden with Travion Henderson, with Diggs and Kyle Williams, who's new to the team, with Keishon Boutte, and of course Pop Douglas. Can't forget him. He's kind of the new option route Wes Welker, Julian Edelman role there. So there's too many mouths here for me to really love Henry, despite what he was able to put together with May in the last few games of the season. Kyle Pitts for me or Tyler Warren are really those 2 guys that I want. I should probably take one here in half PPR. I will think about it, but let's see who else is on the board. My guy, Tank Bigsby. I really have a hard time leaving a draft without Tank Bigsby. Tank and Jameson Williams are, the guys getting the hype, the guys who have looked great on tape and what they put together, the guys who seem like they're primed for ascension. These are the 2 guys I'm not leaving my drafts without this year. And if Bigsby falls to me, and he did, I'm going to absolutely smash him here in the 10th round. Tank Bigsby, as terms of his ADP, at least in the kind of conglomerated ADP that Fantasy Pros put together, is RB41 currently. You see him going here in the early 10th. I think that's a mistake. I think Tank Bigsby will rise probably to the 8th round. He gets in that traditional RB dead zone that we are a little bit concerned about, but Travis Etienne is still going ahead of him. In fact, let's see where Travis Etienne is going in the red. All right, he went in the 9-11. So Etienne is falling. Bigsby is rising. I think Bigsby is going to overtake him very soon here, actually, regardless of what platform you're playing on. It's just something to keep in mind here. But right now, Bigsby and Etienne are both values to me. Like I said earlier, I think it's Rachaad White heavy for Etienne, who is Rachaad White. If you don't know, yes, he lost his job, but he was highly efficient in the passing game, a ridiculous amount of touchdowns as well. And again, that Liam Cohen offense. And Tank Bigsby can be Bucky Irving light. I do not think he's going to be the RB5 or 6, but certainly he can sneak into the back end, RB1, 10, 11, RB 10, 11, 12, if everything breaks right. I do expect back end RB2 to be his floor. If you're getting in the 10th round, Tank Bigsby, if healthy, should be a steal. I'll gladly take him over guys like Zach Charbonnet, who, Kenneth Walker, when healthy, has the role. Right. Tank Bigsby, we're told, and everything we're seeing in camp, he already has the role. So something to consider there. Let's take a look at ADP. And of course, I still need a tight end. We've been pushing that down the road here. So outside of looking at what these other teams in the 11 and 12 spot have, I'm just going to take a look at tight end. And I think I'm probably going to smash Kyle Pitts here. I am. Tyler Warren is super interesting too, though, especially if I end up taking Anthony Richardson. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to smash Warren and hope that Kyle Pitts comes back to me. I really do love Colston Loveland. I think he's better than Tyler Warren for long-term dynasty, but I do not have a problem with either of these guys. Tyler Warren is, of course, older and seems as though he's primed in an offense that was going to feature him, is primed to have a better year one than Colston Loveland. I will make that bet. But I do like Loveland more long-term than Warren. But both of these guys, I think, are smashes. My turn is next. And it's not, Kyle Pitts sniped for me. So I will not double up on tight end here. I got Mason Taylor. I got guys like Strange or Freiermuth. So it's possible I grab those guys. But Trey Benson is another guy who I'll gladly take. Judkins, you see the precipitous fall here. He's really a great bet here. I do not mind that if you want to do it. I'm just a little bit concerned that he's not signed yet. Obviously, he's got all the legal issues. So I'll go with Trey Benson. Trey Benson earlier in the offseason said that he feels like they have two RB1s on the team, himself and James Conner. Trey Benson's coach and Drew Petzig, of course, who's the offensive coordinator, and his name is failing me now, but it's the old Eagles DC. It's not Sirianni, of course, who's the Colts head coach. The other guy, I can't remember. But the head coach as well came out and said that Trey, they got two really good guys there in the backfield. James Conner came out a couple of days ago and said, I really feel like we're going to be splitting the carries and it's going to be a dual attack. Really, really hard to see how Trey Benson does not get himself a boatload of touches. I will take that bet. Here, I do not love it, but I will take Mason Taylor. Mason Taylor dealing with a little bit of an injury. We have to monitor that to see what's going on there, but he is the number 2 target, assuming health. Yes, it is a Justin Fields-led passing attack. We do not love that for the New York Jets. At the same time, Mason Taylor should get a ton of targets, simply because there's nobody else there to take them on. Eckler and half PPR, probably no thanks. I'd prefer a guy like Jaden Higgins. Marvin Mims is interesting. Luther Burden all the way down here. Jaden Blue is probably the guy I'll take. Look, we're supposed to be taking kickers and defenses here, so I guess I got to do that. But I'm not going to do that just because who cares about kickers and defense? I certainly don't. Just because it's really hard to predict year on year. Take the Denver Bronco defense if you can. Just don't take them before round 13. I'll go ahead and take Jaden Blue just so you see how I'm feeling. Oh, I've reached the maximum RBs. No. All right. So who did I end up taking? All right. It got me the Baltimore defense. Fine. In fact, we'll have a look at the defenses that were still available. Detroit, Minnesota, Houston's a really interesting defense. They should have a ton of sacks. I do not mind that. If I have to take a kicker, they'll make me take a kicker. I know I can't take running backs. Can I take a wide receiver? Cedric, I would prefer Jaden Higgins here of this entire group. Maybe Luther Burden. Half PPR, though probably not. Adam Thielen, very interesting. Romeo Doubs, all he does is catch touchdowns. Keenan Allen is buried down here. He's a guy that if I had more time to search for, I would. So let's see if they'll let me take a wide receiver. Let's go ahead and take Doubs. Yeah, and we're going to just push kicker down the line. So you can see the draft results here as they close out, and we'll kind of run through it. So it's complete. So we got 11 minutes to take a look at what's going on here. So here's how we ended up. And in fact, you can see the board. So we'll go through it first with the board here. Achane, Genty, Walker, Hampton to start. Then we have Waddle, JMO, Hunter, and Judy. Really happy with my positions. As you can see in this, and we'll go through it a bit more clearly in a wider view in a second, but we got 1 flex, 2 wide receiver, and 2 running backs as standard. So you're really between wide receivers and running backs. You just take best available, I think. However, of course, half PPR, we have to favor the running backs a little bit. I went a little more than a little bit with my RB love at the beginning, but that's fine. I do not mind that. Drake May then at the 9-10, followed by Tank Bigsby. I cannot stop drafting Tank Bigsby. I am not sorry. Tyler Warren at the 11-10, followed by Trey Benson. Mason Taylor, the Baltimore defense, because I got auto drafted. I was trying to get this guy. They said you cannot take any more running backs, which is why I have a defense here. And then, of course, Romeo Doubs. All right. We'll take a look at the team as well. That's Nick's team. So a couple of guys here in the chat, but let's just see what we're working with here. So Drake May, if I had a little bit more time, I would have searched and grabbed Anthony Richardson. I think Richardson over kind of a Mason Taylor type. Tyler Warren is going to be fine. You do not need to stack 2 tight ends and 2 quarterbacks. So I will go May and Richardson over Warren and Taylor. Taylor would just be off, and you can replace him with Richardson there. Of course, look, my running backs, very happy with it in half PPR. Achane, Genty, Walker, Hampton, Bigsby, and Benson. Bigsby and Benson already have roles. Of course, they have the contingent upside if those guys go down, and we expect those offenses to be better this season. So very happy with those 2 guys and all of my running back room. Wide receiver, Waddle, Jamo, Travis Hunter, Jerry Jeudy. Listen, that's plenty. All 4 of those guys can go off in any given week. We saw it with, 2 of them last year. The other 2 are rookies. So we'll see what happens. With 3 of them last year. Waddle, of course, was not up to form. Hunter's the rookie. He's got that opportunity. So we really need to figure out which guys to play weekly, but we will play matchups, and then we will see what happens in terms of consistency. I think Waddle and Williams will be in there more often than not. We may need to find a way to squeeze Travis Hunter in. And of course, we are so RB heavy that trading a guy like Amarian Hampton or Tank Bigsby, if he pops off, or Kenneth Walker, is going to be a good strategy. We can maybe pair them with a Travis Hunter and go ahead and get an elite Nico Collins, for example, to plug in as our wide receiver 1. So all those options are fair. A couple of things here just in terms of what we're looking at with ADP. Let's just kind of go through some of the later rounds here, and we'll see some of the values that we really liked that work out for us. So Dylan Sampson at the 1309 is a really interesting value for me. Once again, no Quinshawn Judkins. You see him at the 13-3, so this really is an ambiguous backfield. Jerome Ford at the 12-12. Pick your flavor. I just probably wouldn't bet on Judkins. He's not with the team. He's not signed. He's dealing with legal stuff. He plans to fight whatever his legal issues are, which are domestic violence related. That sounds tricky and sticky and something I don't really want to be a part of if he's not on the team right now. So pick your flavor between Ford or Sampson. You see Sampson going later. I will bet on the rookie because we know who Ford is. We know that if he gets the starting role, that he will produce. We know he's an RB2 locked in if he's the lead guy. But I really think Sampson's going to push him. I love Sampson pre-process. A lot of other guys really did. He was my RB7, I think, as it ended up. And I was taking him, before all the Quinshawn news, Judkins news broke, in rookie drafts happily toward the end of the 3rd round, or he was falling routinely. So Dylan Sampson there at the 1309 is interesting. Jaden Blue at the 14-4. Look, go ahead and bet on Javonte. He's probably the guy who starts the season. Javonte at the 10-08. Jaden Blue at the 14-4. Miles Sanders, who I believe I could look, but I don't think I need to. He's gone undrafted here. I like the guys who tend to be cheaper. Miles Sanders, you can grab in the last round of your drafts, go ahead. But Jaden Blue is the more explosive guy. If he can find a way to get on the field regularly, he will be the most valuable in that backfield. Really just depends if Javonte can stay healthy and return to form. Many of us expect that he can, but the fact that he may not is baked into his later 10th round cost there. Let's talk a little bit more about these quarterbacks real quickly and tight ends. Again, you either want to go very early or very late with these guys. Bowers, McBride, and Kittle are the only 3 tight ends that I want early. You see they go by the end of the 3rd. Kittle sometimes falls to the 4th. Don't risk it. If he's available there in the 3rd and he's the last of those 3, I am smashing him every time, regardless of format. If you talk about the quarterbacks who go early, it's Lamar, it's Allen, it's Daniels, and it's Hurts. Joe Burrow goes around this range. I'm okay with it. But after these 4, and maybe, Joe Burrow's the sometimes why in this vowel situation, sometimes I'm okay with Joe Burrow depending on how far he falls. But really in 4-point passing touchdown leagues, I want to go with the guys who run. After that, we need to push, right? Baker and Goff had historic touchdown seasons for themselves last year. Patrick Mahomes, we know he can do it, but hasn't really in the last couple of years. Now we're happy with his weapons. We'll see if he puts it together. I think you need to pass on these middle round tight ends and these middle round quarterbacks because you need to get guys like Trevion Henderson, right? These rookie backs are really interesting here. Even a DeAndre Swift. I really love these wide receivers here who are explosive. If you like Xavier Worthy, go ahead, smash him there. Cortland Sutton just signed a new deal tied to a great offense, the clear number one, even though Evan Ingram's going to come on. Cortland Sutton there is interesting. Ridley, safer floor with a couple of ceiling spike weeks for you. Chris Olave, outside of Mark Andrews, who now is creeping up the ranks and up the ADP draft board, I really want running backs and wide receivers in this range. If you look down a little bit later, Bo Nix at the 8.5, that's interesting. Kyler Murray is also a value given how much he can run. I'm just not sure how much he's going to put it together as a passer, so we will see. Justin Fields is going far too late in every single format. Earlier in the offseason, some charity leagues that we were doing, which are fully redraft and don't really have crazy quarterback scoring. They even have situations where, a lot of these leagues will penalize you for incompletions, which we can expect plenty of from Justin Fields, even though he tends not to kind of push it downfield and take the safer throws at times. He just doesn't have the weapons there in New York. So he is going to throw plenty of completions. And even in those formats, Justin Fields was going in the 4th round as like QB6 because he can run. 4-point passing per touchdown league. If you're getting Justin Fields in the 8th round, that's an absolute smash. I would take him in the 7th. I would take him in the 6th. He kind of is the exception to this rule. If you want to just absolutely slam running back and wide receiver, maybe grab a tight end, and you find yourself with Fields in the 8th instead of Jerry Jeudy, do it. I mean, absolutely. As a consolation prize, I am not upset about Drake May. Drake May said he's going to run less, but he is now in his Josh McDaniels offense. He is going to pass more. He's going to run around. His offensive line is better than it was, but that's not saying much. Drake May is still going to have to run a ton. So I'm really happy with that, especially, next to guys like Caleb, Love, Goff, Tua, Stroud. These guys don't run a ton. Drake May did last season. JJ McCarthy's another interesting guy. We talked about Josh McDaniels. He's in the Kevin O'Connell offense. We saw what that did for Sam Darnold last year. The weapons around him are elite. Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson now fully healthy, Aaron Jones, albeit a little bit older. And now we have a run game with Jordan Mason and an improved offensive line. So I really think JJ McCarthy is set up in that Sam Darnold situation. Sam Darnold was a QB1. Don't necessarily expect JJ to be an overall QB1 at the end of the season, though I do think it's possible. What I think he is he's a top 16 quarterback for you with spike weeks simply because of the guys around him in the mind of Kevin O'Connell. JJ McCarthy in the 11th round. I will smash that as well. Love it. Kyle Pitts is another great value at the 12-2 sniped for me. So I took Trey Benson. I love that value as well. And then really, take your pick of high upside handcuff, whether it be the guy on the 49ers, the guy on the Falcons, the guy on the Bills, right? All of these guys have opportunity awaiting them if, somebody goes down with injury. So that was a look at Yahoo. If you are drafting on Yahoo, remember it's likely half PPR. It's likely 4 points per passing touchdown. Of course, we're prioritizing guys who, in terms of guys who catch the football, guys who pick up chunk yards. That's a Jameson Williams. That's a Jalen Waddle, a Tyreek Hill, and guys who score touchdowns over these PPR machines, right? These guys like Zay Flowers, for example, Jaden Reed, Josh Downs. These guys are going to likely see 100 targets. Problem is they don't score a ton of touchdowns, and some of that stuff is closer to the vest. Wan'Dale Robinson is kind of that great example from a couple of years ago, certainly where even last year, where he saw 140 targets, Wan'Dale Robinson did, and turned it into almost nothing. So it's just a tough situation. It's a different situation in half PPR. Prioritize those high volume running backs, guys who also catch the football are a plus. and then prioritize in terms of wide receiver. Get the high upside guys who can absolutely go nuclear and win you weeks, who can pick up chunk yards and get in the end zone. A Mike Evans, a Cortland Sutton, those guys need to go higher than normal, in addition to game-breaking guys like J-Mo, Waddle, etc. So thank you very much for joining us here. I am Jeremy Schulman. This has been Adjust the Ranks, a part of the fantasy football universe. If you want to just jump into a Discord and talk some ball with us, we are always available. I have posted the link in the YouTube chat just now. It'll also be in the description, so you can smash that, jump in, and just talk ball with a bunch of guys. Myself, Jesse Moeller, SC Romero, Debbie Planet, which is SC's show with Spencer Buckley. You can join them. They're in there. Dynasty Dog, Rich, and Mike of the Dynasty Dogs are in there, and a bunch of other good guys just talking ball all the time, trades, roster evaluations, etc. So feel free to jump in. Also, if you have not heard of or tried Fast Draft, please do. It's kind of like Underdog, except the drafts are even faster. You can do 20-second, 15-second mock drafts. Not mock drafts, drafts for money, in addition to kind of just rookies only and a bunch of different contests that they have. New and innovative platform there, Fast Draft. Use promo code FFU if you want to get a first-time deposit match. So once again, thanks for joining us. I've been Jeremy Schulman. This has been Adjust the Ranks, part of the fantasy football universe. Good luck, and we will see you next time.
We say bye-bye, so long, see you later, take it easy, be cool, hang in there. You know what my favorite one is? Don't get run over. Well, some people need practical advice, you know?